The Galactic Confederation's Code of Rules and Regulations numbered precisely 12,387 protocols. According to the most recent official tally, the majority featuring the characteristic bureaucratic tedium, anticipated from an entity responsible for governing 37 distinct species spanning 8 spiral arms. Included were stipulations regarding correct waste management in zero-gravity conditions, the proper etiquette for greeting tentacled species, avoiding sudden movements and appropriation of gestures, and the maximum permissible length for grand mating calls during diplomatic functions, a maximum of 42 seconds, although the general consensus held this was 41 seconds longer than necessary. However, Protocol 7294H distinguished itself among the collection. This wasn't due to its lengthy designation. Emergency response guidelines for auditory communication cessation in Terran military personnel during active combat scenarios, but rather its informal moniker whispered in the halls of authority, the Quiet Human Alert. It represented the sole protocol within the entire regulatory system that automatically initiated evacuation measures for non-human personnel. The irony was palpable to veteran officers who recalled the initial period of human incorporation into the Confederation. In those days, the chief grievance concerning the Earth delegation was their utter inability to remain silent. "They are physiologically incapable of tactical silence," declared Admiral Selex during the inaugural Joint Military Council following Earth's acceptance. The Admiral's exoskeleton produced irritable clicks as they displayed a sound analysis of human combat engagements. Their communications during conflict comprised 23% tactical data, 47% superfluous status reports, and 30% what their language experts term trash talk, aimed at both adversaries and comrades. "What constitutes the remaining percentage?" inquired a photosynthetic delegate, whose translation apparatus struggled to convey the notion of trash talk into a spectrum-based language. The Admiral's mandibles twitched. Vocalizations are translation software labels as creative profanity. "How creative, exactly?" pressed the photosynthetic representative, their light patterns indicating genuine scientific interest. "The Linguistics Division has incorporated 16 additional dictionaries to handle them." High Commander Vellner had been only a tactical officer then, recently returned from the Relian campaigns and still adjusting to their final MCTS-enhanced sensory frills. Tasked with observing the premier joint training maneuvers, they had prepared meticulously, examining human physiology, tactical principles, and historical military conflicts. Nothing could have readied them for the actuality. "Approaching the target area in 5, the human squad leader stated during the exercise, their voice distinct over the shared communication network. Vellner assumed an observation posture, anticipating the disciplined quiet that usually preceded tactical action. Instead, the comms channel burst with ongoing chatter. 5 credits say the practice targets are in the northern quadrant this time. No wager, they consistently place them in the north quadrant? Except for last Tuesday when they were positioned in the eastern quadrant. That occurred on Thursday, genius. Is anyone else's suit causing irritation in peculiar spots? I'm convinced they engineer these without comprehending human anatomy. Concentrate, everyone, and affirmative, the suits are uncomfortable for all, you aren't unique. That's contrary to what my mother asserts. Your mother hasn't observed you in tactical equipment. Neither has yours, why... Actually, if you conclude that statement, I will personally guarantee you are assigned latrine maintenance duties until retirement. Vellner's aide, a junior analyst named Core, released distressed methane bubbles through their transparent exoskeleton. Is their communication system experiencing a malfunction? Should we notify their command? This seems standard for them, Vellner responded, frills twitching with bewilderment. Core's internal gases swirled, signifying disbelief. During a covert approach, the humans executed the exercise with praiseworthy effectiveness, all the while sustaining an unbroken flow of dialogue that spanned from tactical notations to in-depth evaluations of the mess hall's attempt to replicate Earth food. Their operational capability is indisputable, Vellner recorded in their official assessment subsequently, though their approach defies conventional tactical norms to an extent that verges on psychological warfare against both opposing and allied forces. The Confederation eventually adjusted to human loquacity. Specialized filters were engineered for communication officers to extract vital intelligence from the stream of human conversation. Joint operation protocols were amended to accommodate what one dread psychologist labeled compulsive verbal processing disorder. Certain species even started to perceive the relentless human commentary as comforting, a dependable constant amidst the turmoil of interstellar activities. Nobody anticipated silence from humans. Nobody readied for it. Nobody comprehended its implication until Delta Prime. Vellner, now a high commander possessing a notable array of commendations and exactly one ceremonial scar, obtained not in combat, but at a diplomatic gathering upon discovering too late that tequila shots were not in fact a human weapon display, had personally chosen the task force for what was supposed to be a standard reconnaissance mission. The human squad allocated to the operation was representative of their species, proficient despite an apparent deficiency in discipline, innovative to the degree of inducing tactical unease in their non-human colleagues, and voluble enough that several telepathic species had requested psychic interference dampeners. "Eastern perimeter secured," announced the human squad leader during the initial setup, their voice imbued with the casual self-assurance typical of their kind. No indication of scavenger presence unless one considers what might be the galaxy's most unsettling effort at installation art near the secondary portal. "Clarify," Vellner requested, frills raising with unease. "Someone or something has assembled mining machinery components into a configuration that either signifies their cultural background or suggests they possess significant unresolved developmental issues. Difficult to ascertain. Maintain perimeter defense and proceed with surveillance," Vellner instructed, opting to disregard the extraneous artistic commentary. "Affirmative, Commander Fancy Frills. We'll maintain vigilance and keep our witty remarks forthcoming." Kor, now Vellner's senior strategic analyst and clad in an exoskeleton that had matured to the respected indigo shade of experience, emitted an amused bubble. "I have estimated that this specific human utters an average of 347 more words per hour than strictly required for mission objectives." "Only 347? Vellner's frills rippled in what had evolved into a familiar gesture of resigned amusement. They must be feeling indisposed. The operation progressed as planned for precisely 3 hours, 17 minutes, and 12 seconds. The 6 specialized units deployed surveillance posts around the derelict mining installation. The Vesperian Infiltration Squad accessed compromised systems to supply partial interior visuals. The Adran psionics registered roughly 20 scavenger biosignatures. The humans sustained their usual running commentary on subjects ranging from rock formations to hypothetical narratives concerning the scavengers' personal affairs. Everything altered with a blinding illumination and the distinct roar of powerful explosives. As warning signals blared and damage assessments poured in, Vellner preserved the disciplined composure that had become their hallmark. "Status update from all units," they directed. One by one, 5 teams reported back with succinct evaluations. The 6th channel, the human frequency, stayed silent. "Fire Team Bravo, report," Vellner commanded, frills now fully raised in an alert state. Silence. "Human squad, acknowledge," they repeated. The quiet persisted, interrupted only by the faint sounds of command center activity, the clicking of Kor's concerned exoskeleton, the drone of surveillance craft being rerouted, the soft hiss of a junior officer's anxiety-related secretions. Then, following an eternity condensed into mere seconds, a crackle of static preceded a single terse broadcast from the human squad leader. "Situation altered. Going dark." The channel ceased transmission. Vellner gazed at the communications monitor, their 4 hearts beating with uncharacteristic irregularity. In that instant, an instinct more ancient than their civilization, older than their species' emergence from the primeval oceans of their homeworld, sent a cold tremor down their spine. "Emergency protocol," they stated softly, their voice audible despite its low pitch. "All non-human units retreat to a secure perimeter." "Commander?" Kor questioned, bubbles swirling with confusion. "The humans seem to be in trouble. Should we not dispatch reinforcements?" Vellner's frills lay pressed flat against their skull, a posture indicating not rage, but profound apprehension. The humans are not in trouble, Analyst Core. They have ceased talking. I fail to grasp the importance, one of the junior officers conceded. Vellner directed their attention toward the facility schematics, where the human team's last confirmed position blinked with growing concern near the scavenger concentration. You will, they said plainly, and subsequently, I believe we shall require a new protocol. The moon of Delta Prime possessed all the appeal of a collapsed lung. Its atmosphere, a poisonous blend of methane, sulfur, and malice, necessitated breathing gear for most species. The terrain displayed sharp obsidian structures seemingly engineered to impale the careless, alongside acidic geysers erupting with the randomness of a politician's principles. The indigenous fauna was similarly hospitable, primarily comprising creatures evolved to either poison, liquefy, or explosively multiply within any visitor reckless enough to establish contact. In essence, it was precisely the type of location that led to combat hazard compensation being tripled, yet still faced challenges in recruiting volunteers. The mission had commenced as a standard peacekeeping endeavor, assuming textbooks were authored by sleep-starved sadists with a talent for unforeseen narrative complications. Confederation intelligence indicated scavenger operations within an abandoned mining complex. The scavengers, a loosely organized group of pirates, mercenaries, and individuals possessing a liberal view of ownership rights, had been attacking Confederation stations with growing audacity. The task force gathered for this specific segment of interstellar hardship included units from 6 varied species featuring a 12-person human squad. High Commander Vellner had handpicked the contingent, balancing combat expertise and environmental resistances to assemble what ought to have been an effective and synergistic unit. Remember, Vellner instructed them prior to deployment, this mission is strictly reconnaissance and containment. We locate the scavenger presence, evaluate their numbers, and request appropriate reinforcements if necessary. No acts of heroism, no undue risks. The human squad leader, a seasoned veteran with skin resembling aged timber and eyes suggesting they had observed multiple calamities and found them underwhelming, nodded gravely. They then immediately spoiled the impression by smiling and stating, "So, locate the hostiles, refrain from provoking them excessively, and summon the cavalry if they appear particularly homicidal today. Understood, Commander Shiny Scales." Vellner's frills flattened in a manner that universally signified, I lament several life decisions leading to this point. Nonetheless, the commander acknowledged, that is fundamentally accurate, though I would prefer you utilize my official title during operations. Absolutely. High Commander Shiny Scales, sir, the human retorted with a flawlessly performed salute that concurrently managed respect and defiance. Core's exoskeleton flickered with contained mirth. I have adjusted the mission parameters to incorporate a 43% probability of human-instigated complications. Only 43%? Vellner murmured. Your predictive models are becoming overly positive. The initial deployment proceeded without incident, a circumstance that should have instantly warned everyone the universe was merely preparing them for a dramatic setback. The 6 units formed a perimeter around the deserted mining facility, an extensive network of tunnels, processing plants, and storage bays excavated into the moon's volatile crust. The human squad, designated Fire Team Bravo, was allocated the eastern approach, a rugged canyon offering one of the limited ground entry points to the complex. Their communications channel, predictably, was an incessant flow of conversation. This location makes New Jersey seem like a vacation spot. Hey, I hail from New Jersey. Precisely my argument. Has anyone else observed how these rock formations appear strangely biological? Like fossilized entrails or similar? Appreciate that mental picture. I had aspirations of sleeping again eventually. Movement at my 12... Hold on. No, merely another one of those drifting gas bubble entities. Avoid popping those. Rodriguez discovered that mistake. They're loaded with something smelling like fermented athletic socks steeped in skunk essence. How is Rodriguez faring, incidentally? Medic indicates his olfactory sense might recover next month. Possibly. Vellner and Core observed the communications from the command vehicle, an armored transport situated at a safe remove from the facility. The other 5 units reported with concise professional updates. The human squad's reports were technically thorough but presented with the formal military bearing of a comedic improvisation ensemble. Eastern approach secured, no evidence of scavenger operations. We did discover some peculiar graffiti, however. Either someone possessed a strong interest in abstract expressionism, or the local fauna has acquired opposable thumbs and a troubling artistic inclination. 3 hours into the mission, the situation remained unchanged. The Adrian scouts noted minimal movement inside the facility. Thermal signatures indicated maybe 20 scavengers, primarily grouped in what was formerly the central processing hub. The Vesperian Infiltration Unit had successfully gained entry to the installation's impaired surveillance network, supplying grainy yet informative visuals of the interior. Appears to be a typical scavenger setup, Core noted, their exoskeleton pulsing analytical blue. Small contingent, likely salvaging leftover machinery and resources. Agreed, Vellner stated, frills easing slightly. We will sustain observation until... That was the moment everything went awry, inverted, and perhaps shifted into a fourth spatial dimension, not previously documented in this reality. A colossal explosion rocked the command post, the resulting shockwave vibrating equipment and dislodging several officers. The surveillance imagery from within the installation flared white before cutting out to static. "Status report," Vellner shouted into the comms. "Adran team here. Detonation originated from the main processing center. Vesperian team reporting. We've lost connection to the facility's systems. Tyrellian pack confirms substantial structural impairment to the eastern segment. Gaussian unit registering massive energy surge. Signature consistent with Class 4 fusion detonation. Dread swarm, radiation readings escalating. Recommend immediate activation of evacuation protocols." As each unit responded, Vellner's feeling of apprehension intensified. One team stayed silent. "Fire Team Bravo, report," Vellner ordered. The channel stayed inactive. "Human squad, acknowledge," Vellner repeated, frills now fully extended in alarm. Only static replied. "Their last reported coordinates were directly beside the blast site," Core stated, exoskeleton pulsing. Concerned orange. "Casualty likelihood is—" "I don't require likelihoods," Vellner interjected. "Provide visual verification." The command personnel urgently redirected surveillance drones towards the eastern canyon where the human squad had been located. The footage revealed a changed landscape. The canyon partially collapsed, dust and fragments still settling. There was no trace of the human unit. "Scan for life readings," Vellner commanded, jaw set tightly enough to tense tendons. "Scanning," Core replied, interfacing directly with the sensor equipment. "Eastern quadrant heavily obscured. The explosion is hindering biosignature detection." A crackle emanated from the comm system, followed by a burst of static. Vellner leaned closer intently. "Fire Team Bravo, repeat your transmission," they encouraged. More static, then a snippet of voice, too garbled to discern words but recognizably human. "We have intermittent contact," Core declared, lights pulsing with renewed optimism. "Signal is faint but detectable." "Amplify the gain," Vellner ordered. "Filter the ambient interference." The technical crew worked rapidly, modifying settings and diverting power to the communications hardware. After several tense moments, the channel became clear enough to discern a single human voice. The squad leader. "Repeat, scavengers anticipated us. They've triggered some form of mining explosive network throughout the installation. Eastern entry collapsed. We're isolated but advancing via an alternative route." "Fire Team Bravo, this is command," Vellner responded instantly. "Negative on advancing. Withdraw and await retrieval. Repeat, withdraw and await retrieval." The reply arrived more distinctly this time. "Negative, command. We've located their command hub. They are preparing to withdraw with data cores and weapon prototypes. Request permission to intercept." Vellner's frills flattened against their skull in exasperation. "Negative. You are outnumbered and lack support. This is a direct command to maintain position." "With deference, Commander," the human voice answered, tone implying respect was being stretched thin. "We possess the tactical upper hand. They are unaware we survived. We are initiating silent movement for stealth approach." Do not initiate silent movement, Vellner almost yelled. Maintain communications and... The channel went silent. Not static, not interference, just utter, complete quiet. For an instant, the command center was equally still as the realization took hold. Then Core spoke, their usually controlled voice tinged with undeniable worry. They have intentionally severed communications. Re-establish contact immediately, Vellner commanded. I am unable, Core responded. They have deactivated their communicators at the source. Vellner stared at the silent communications panel, a cold sensation spreading through their four limbs. The human team, loud, chaotic, perpetually communicating humans, had fallen silent. And somehow, that silence felt more threatening than the explosion that had preceded it. Redirect all available surveillance to the facility interior, Vellner stated softly. And they added after a moment, notify medical to stand by for multiple casualties. Scavenger casualties? One of the junior officers inquired. Vellner's frills lowered in grim foreboding. That is yet to be determined. The Confederation Task Force Command Center had shifted from a paragon of interstellar military orderliness to something more, akin to an anxiety symposium. Junior officers paced, senior analysts clicked with agitation, and the atmosphere processors labored to filter the diverse stress pheromones, warning fluids, and alarm spores released by the varied assembly of species. 16 minutes without contact, Core reported, their exoskeleton now pulsing a distressed mauve. No visual confirmation of Fire Team Bravo's condition. Vellner remained immobile before the tactical map, frills pressed entirely flat against their skull, a posture veterans recognized as the commander's manifestation of intense concern. The surveillance drones had succeeded in restoring partial visibility of the facility's exterior, but the eastern area where the human squad had disappeared remained vexingly hidden by rubble and structural wreckage. The other units have finished tactical withdrawal to secure positions, a communications officer announced. Awaiting subsequent directives. Maintain position, Vellner said quietly, and ready the medical transport for immediate launch. A dread lieutenant whose species prized directness to a degree most others found disconcerting, verbalized the query occupying everyone's neural pathways. Why are we not initiating an immediate rescue mission for the human team? Vellner directed their four-eyed stare towards the lieutenant, who instantly regretted their query. Because, Lieutenant, the humans have gone silent. I comprehend that communication was severed, but no, Vellner cut in, a rare interruption that quieted the chamber. You fail to comprehend. The humans haven't lost communication. They have chosen silence. Before the discussion could proceed, a proximity alert illuminated the tactical display. One of the surveillance drones had registered movement at the installation's northern egress, a secondary access point connected, according to blueprints, to the main processing hub via a network of service tunnels. Visual confirmation, Core announced, relaying the feed to the primary monitor. The indistinct footage revealed three figures clad in scavenger combat attire emerging tentatively from the exit, repeatedly glancing behind them. They were transporting what seemed to be data storage devices and weapon prototypes, precisely the kind of technological plunder the Confederation aimed to stop. Notify the Adren team, Vellner directed. They are positioned nearest to that location. Hold, Core interjected, bubbles swirling within their exoskeleton with sudden urgency. Something appears amiss with those scavengers. Upon closer view, the three individuals moved with peculiar reluctance, their stances unnatural even considering the bulky gear they carried. As they reached the comparative shelter of a rock formation, the foremost figure glanced back towards the facility entrance and executed a hand signal no scavenger would recognize, but any Earth military veteran would immediately identify as standard human tactical communication. Those are not scavengers, Vellner grasped. They are attired in scavenger equipment, but... Before they could finish the thought, the feed displayed 6 additional figures emerging from the facility, genuine scavengers this time, judging by their assured gait and characteristic augmentations. They seemed to be giving chase, weapons drawn. What transpired next would subsequently be documented in no fewer than 17 official reports, each finding difficulty in chronicling the sequence of events with the clinical exactitude expected of military records. None fully conveyed the reality. The three disguised individuals, now clearly identified as humans based on their ensuing actions, which no other species would have conceived, let alone performed, simultaneously dropped their loads and pivoted to confront their pursuers with coordination, suggesting either telepathic linkage or rigorous training. Given known human traits, the latter appeared more plausible, if only marginally less unsettling. No words were spoken, no war cries issued, no witty remarks made, merely silence and violence. Choreographed with such precision, it approached artistic merit. If one's concept of art encompassed the efficient neutralization of armed adversaries. The first human dropped into a seemingly anatomically infeasible crouch, extracting what looked like standard Confederation flashbangs from a scavenger utility pouch. The second produced a segment of mining cable unnoticed until it was already ensnaring the lead scavenger's augmented appendages. The third simply advanced head-on in a way safety regulations across 17 species would deem suicidally reckless. "Are they?" A junior officer started, then halted as the outcome became visually evident. The flashbangs detonated, but not before being altered somehow to concentrate their impact directionally, unlike the usual omnidirectional discharge. The cable, normally employed for securing bulky mining apparatus, showed surprising effectiveness in detaching a scavenger from both their firearm and their cybernetic limb. The frontal assault turned out to be a calculated feint, concluding with the human utilizing a scavenger's own forward motion to acquaint them forcefully with gravitational laws. Confederation tactical instruction does not cover these techniques, Core remarked, their analytical mindset reasserting itself amidst the stunning scene. "No," Vellner concurred, "it does not." The surveillance feed documented the confrontation lasting exactly 23 seconds. Upon its conclusion, 6 scavengers were sprawled in various conditions of disablement, while 3 humans stood unscathed, still silent. They recovered their discarded gear and commenced securing their adversaries with systematic precision. "That constituted only the initial group," Vellner stated softly. "There were 12 humans assigned to Fire Team Bravo." As though prompted by the commander's remark, the tactical display refreshed with new alerts. The facility's western emergency exit indicated signs of forced entry. The power core showed erratic fluctuations. Sporadic signals hinted at localized electromagnetic disruptions throughout the lower sections. "What are their actions?" the Dread Lieutenant inquired, multifaceted eyes expanding to their maximum physiological extent. Before anyone could propose explanations, the answer manifested as a structured sequence of detonations within the facility, not chaotic demolition, but calculated sequential blasts seemingly designed to collapse particular areas while preserving others. "They are guiding the remaining scavengers," Vellner realized, frills rising slightly in professional admiration, "manipulating their escape paths." Indeed, the surveillance drones soon captured visuals of bewildered scavengers emerging from emergency portals and service access points, only to encounter humans positioned in ambush. The scenario recurred with modifications suited to each egress point. Some humans utilized stealth and surprise, others leveraged environmental elements to establish bottlenecks. One particularly resourceful pair had converted mining machinery into a makeshift trapping mechanism that efficiently gathered 4 scavengers resembling some sort of bizarre arcade attraction. Throughout this, not a single human utterance was broadcast. No chatter, no coordination signals, no cries of victory or derisive comments. Just the quiet, methodical neutralization of an enemy force outnumbering them nearly 2-1. 23 scavengers accounted for, Core announced after the final encounter concluded. All apprehended or incapacitated. No verified fatalities, although several will necessitate significant medical attention. "And Fire Team Bravo?" Vellner inquired. 11 confirmed visuals, no evident serious wounds. Still no communication. As if refuting the analyst's statement, the comm system abruptly crackled. The squad leader's voice emerged with flawless clarity, as nonchalant as if discussing the forecast. "Fire Team Bravo to command. Facility secured. Scavenger threat eliminated. Prototype weapons and data cores retrieved. requesting extraction and prisoner handling. Oh, and medical might want to pack additional supplies. Some of these individuals resisted rather vigorously. The command center descended into astonished silence, broken only when Vellner managed to articulate a reply. Acknowledged. Fire Team Bravo. Support is en route. Status of your unit? All accounted for. Minor bumps and scrapes. Nothing critical. Understood, Vellner responded, striving to preserve professional decorum. And what transpired with your communications during the engagement? There was a beat, not of uncertainty, but of a predator contemplating how to articulate something self-evident to a being with different instincts. We needed to concentrate, the squad leader said finally, as though this clarified everything. To the humans, perhaps it did. The debriefing following the Delta Prime incident spanned 16 hours, necessitated 3 distinct translation algorithms to accurately capture specific human colloquialisms, and led to the establishment of 7 new tactical classification types. The formal report presented to Confederation High Command was exhaustive, meticulously detailed, yet somehow failed to impart the core insight gained by those who had observed the events directly. 1 week thereafter, a classified supplement was appended to all standard operating procedures concerning human military units. It comprised a single paragraph destined to evolve into Protocol 7294H. In instances where human operatives cease standard communications during active combat situations, all non-human personnel are instructed to immediately retreat to a minimum safe distance. This silence does not signify equipment malfunction or operator incapacitation, but rather indicates a shift to a state of heightened combat effectiveness. Intervention efforts during this phase are statistically prone to result in friendly fire occurrences, as humans in this state prioritize tactical goals above alliance recognition protocols. Or, as Corps more concisely noted in their personal record, when the humans fall silent, evacuate. The Galactic Confederation Council Hall, an architectural feat of sound engineering crafted to handle the vocal ranges of 37 separate species, had never experienced such profound, uncomfortable quiet. The holographic projection displayed the Delta Prime footage for a 3rd time. Delegates shifted restlessly as they observed humans navigating the mining complex with predatory agility, dispatching scavengers with alarming proficiency. So, commenced High Minister Tavak, mandibles clicking anxiously, you advocate for a galaxy-spanning alert mechanism triggered when humans cease vocalizing? Precisely, Vellner affirmed, standing resolutely before the gathered officials. The data is irrefutable. Silent humans constitute the utmost category of tactical danger currently recognized. But they are comrades, objected the photosynthetic representative, light patterns conveying bewilderment. Indeed, Corps interjected, exoskeleton now the esteemed blue of a newly promoted admiral, and Protocol 7294H will guarantee we do not inadvertently obstruct them when they transition into their combat-enhanced condition. Following hours of deliberation, the vote was almost unanimous. Only the Dread abstained, referencing philosophical disagreements with retreating from allies, irrespective of how formidable they might become. 1 month later, every Confederation military ship, station, and command hub integrated the new warning system, a straightforward display monitoring human communication frequencies and activating evacuation protocols upon detecting prolonged silence. As Vellner countersigned the ultimate authorization, they contemplated the irony. For years, the Confederation had lamented humans' incessant talking. Now they had instituted an emergency procedure for precisely when they stopped. An intriguing species adaptation, Corps remarked, employing continuous communication to mask their genuine potential. Vellner's frills rippled with amusement. Perhaps we ought to be thankful they are typically so verbose. Indeed, Corps concurred, it serves as nature's method of cautioning us. The universe, it appeared, possessed a distinctive sense of irony. The most perilous predator was not the one that announced its presence, but the one that abruptly became quiet.